Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the second lecture in this series. In this lecture, I'm going to discuss in detail Aristotle's views about imitation. So let's start. Greek use the word mimesis for imitation and they define it not only in sense of mimicking, copying or mirroring, rather they give it a broader description. They attach the process of creation and representation with mimesis. You must know that it was not Aristotle who came up with the idea of imitation, rather, he borrowed it from his tutor Plato. Plato is one of the greatest philosophers of ancient Greek time. He was born in the late half of 5th century BCE. He wrote Republic, the famous utopian work where he depicts an ideal state, and he famously, rather infamously, exiled poets from his ideal land. He also gave the concept of a philosopher king that should rule the state after getting rigorous education. He was also a teacher of Aristotle, and you must know that Aristotle spent almost 20 years of his life in the educational institution that was developed by Plato, and its name was Academy. Though Aristotle was greatly influenced by Plato, his ideas significantly differ from those of his mentor. When Plato says that the imitation, he came up with the idea of imitation, he says that poetry is mimetic art like painting, and he doesn't approve of mimetic arts on the reason that they are useless. Remember, Plato considers medicine and philosophy more important because they contain some kind of truth. They possess some kind of utility for us, whereas poetry has no truth value in it, and the poetry does not offer any useful experience to us. According to Plato, art and poetry is twice, rather thrice removed from reality. Poetry is shadow of shadows. You must know that Plato considers the world in which we live as not real. The real world is universal and ideal. This material world is its reflection or copy. He gives the example of a painter painting a bed. Now, listen carefully. Original true bed is an ideal form. It is universal and non-material. A carpenter, based on the ideal form, creates a material bed using wood and other things. A painter paints a picture of bed on watching this bed. He imitates from the world of material reality that is in itself copy of ideal reality. So through imitation, the artist or painter or poet further moves away from reality because he takes his inspiration from this world of phenomena, this world of material reality, but that material world is in itself copy. It is not something real. Hence, Plato considers mimetic art problematic and fake because they do not uphold the truth. But the question arises here that Plato, who was known for his wisdom, who was known for his intellectual thoughts and philosophic contribution, why he does not approve mimetic art? Why doesn't he approve imitation? So you must know that Plato's early life was spent under the shadow of Peloponnesian War, a war that was fought between Athens and Sparta, in which Athens suffered greater loss, and this war continued for almost a period of 30 years. Perhaps this war made him write his work Republic, where he tells us rules and principles of good governance and social setup, because he no longer believed in the Athenian system of government. So you must remember Plato was writing a political work. His work was intended to elaborate good governance. His work does not primarily address poetry or art or literary canon or literary principles. So he was an idealist at heart who considers mimesis mirroring and something that does not reflect reality. As it is quoted here in Republic, that is written by Plato. According to Plato's theory of form, the true and original bed is one existing in nature, which is made by God, as quoted in the book 10th of Republic. The first thing is ideal form of bed. The material bed is a reflection of that ideal form of bed, and the painting of bed is thrice removed from the reality. This picture is painted by Raphael, Renaissance painter, and this represents sorry, Plato's Academy. This painting is also made by Raphael, and here he has painted Plato and Aristotle. They are having some kind of discussion, and rest of the philosophers are watching them in awe. And this also depicts the kind of positive kind of relationship that they both enjoyed. Now we are moving to the Aristotle's idea of imitation. You know that Aristotle borrowed this term from Plato, but he extended and gave it a broader scope. Aristotle also believes that all art is imitative. Here, the both the tutor and the pupil they are agreeing. Plato considers art as imitative, so does Aristotle. But later on, Aristotle differs from him. Aristotle believes that imitation is natural and man derives pleasure from works of imitation. He believes that imitation is natural, it is rooted in human nature. It is human instinct to create art through imitation. According to Aristotle, imitation comes naturally to human beings and it happens from the very childhood. A child learns through imitation, whether it is language, manners, or other traditions. He learns every aspect of social being, every aspect of his existence through copying those who are surrounding him. This capacity for imitation differentiates man from other animals. We are human beings due to our faculty of imitation. If we eliminate this faculty, this capacity, we would not be considered as human beings. Aristotle also says that human beings find pleasure in imitation. He says that people find pleasure in objects that are accurately imitated. If you see a painting and you recognize the scene being painted, the person being painted, you are ecstatic. And if you don't recognize it, then you find pleasure in the execution of those objects in the painting, particularly those objects that are not easily digested in real life. For example, scenes of death, torture, or some animals dying. Through imitation, we enjoy their portrayal in art because you come to know that this kind of thing is not happening in reality, and you enjoy a kind of distance from those painful scenes, and you know that it is not real, so you derive some kind of pleasure by witnessing their perfect execution through art. Imitation and similarly poetry is part of human nature. It is something that is inevitable. We cannot do away with it. If nature and instinct is suppressed, it can be disastrous for survival in the long run. So poetry and art provide a natural outlet for imitation. As quoted in the chapter 4 of Poetics, poetry in general seems to have sprung from two causes, each of them lying deep in our nature. First, the instinct of imitation is implanted in man from the very childhood. One difference between him and the other animals being that he is the most imitative of living creatures and through imitation learns his earlier lessons. And no less universal is the pleasure felt in things imitated. Now we are moving to the Aristotle's idea of imitation. Aristotle, though, took the term from Plato, but he redefined the whole idea, giving it a new direction. Some critics believe that Aristotle's Poetics is an answer to Plato's condemnation of poetry in Republic, whereas Plato infamously banished poets. Aristotle very systematically propagated in favor of the art of poetry. Though in Poetics he does not directly address Republic or Plato, but the ideas he presented there are in favor of poetry, and it seems that he was giving an answer to his tutor Plato. So he redefined imitation according to Aristotle. All arts, tragedy, comedy, epic, dithyrambic poetry, and all kinds of music is imitation. But these arts, standing on the common foundation of imitation, are quite different from each other. So the question arises, why is it so? Aristotle himself gives the answer. He says that various types of art differ in three ways. The first is means or medium of imitation, then comes object of imitation, and the last is manner of imitation. First, we would be discussing means or medium of imitation. Different arts use different source or medium of imitation. As Aristotle states that a painter uses form and color, a musician relies upon rhythm and harmony. So is the case with the poet. He also uses rhythm and harmony along with the language. Rhythm and harmony are also evident in the use of meter. Different types of art use these mediums separately, together, or in different combinations. Music uses melody, rhythm, dance uses rhythm, tragedy uses all of these. As Aristotle links poetry with music, so it is very significant. Remember, Plato linked it with painting. It is significant because he considers imitation as something not slavish copying, rather, he considers it as a creative art. Now we are moving to the object of imitation. Imitation must have an object. Without object, we cannot imitate. Object of imitation is man in action. Aristotle says that poetry imitates man and events in which they are involved. These objects must either be admirable or inferior. This difference leads to the classification of tragedy and comedy. Remember, if object of imitation, that is man, is of superior kind, it is better than us, than average humanity, it is classified as tragedy. If characters are portrayed worse than us, they are not better than us, they are worse than average humanity, then that work can be classified as comedy. Further, Aristotle's concept of action is also very broader area. It involves a wide range of mental and physical activity. Human feelings, emotions also form the substance for action because external action is rooted in inner thoughts of mind. So, Aristotle's view of action is not superficial, dealing with external reality. Rather, he advocates for deeper insights into the human psyche. We are, and our actions are, truly reflection of what we think. So inner qualities are also very important and they form the substance for our external reaction and action and decision. In short, action also involves psychological factors. Now we would discuss manner of imitation, and according to Aristotle, there are two manners of of imitation. One is narrative, and other is dramatic. In narrative, a person or a writer or author may be speaking in the same person throughout the poem or speaking in an assumed role. And he quotes the example of Homer. Homer sometimes assumes the role of characters in his epic and speaks through their mouth, and sometimes as an author he remains similar and uniform throughout the poem. The second manner of imitation is dramatic. The action and the story is performed on the stage through dialogue or action. So here we come up with some ideas of Aristotle that give broader meaning to the theory of imitation. And the first one is imitation is a natural instinct. It is something that is part and parcel of being human. It is integral part of human presence, human being, human essence. We cannot do away with it. The second thing is imitation is creative process. It is not something copying or mimicking or mirroring. It is not slavish representation of what we see. Rather, it involves creation. It resembles something. It resembles the creative activity of God in itself. And the third thing is imitation deals with universal truth. Imitation is not something that deals with temporal and a fleeting nature of reality. Rather, it prunes and trims what is temporal and fleeting, what is superficial and irrelevant, and he comes up with something that possesses the essence of existence. It deals with the universal aspects of being. It deals with the things that are relevant to each and every human being. So imitation is something that is universal. It captures universal reality. It doesn't reflect the external or exteriors of things. So here is a brief comparison of the approaches adopted by the two renowned philosophers, Plato and Aristotle, and who were closely linked with each other. Plato is the tutor and Aristotle is the disciple. According to Plato, art is imitation. So is the case with Aristotle. He also considers art as imitation. According to Plato, it is mimicry or copying, whereas Aristotle considers art as a creative, imitation as a something creative. Plato considers imitation as deceptive or illusion. He considers it fake and unreliable. You can understand it from a simple example. According to Plato, if you Consider if you watch a simple object and your distance from this object defines the whole presence of that object. Take the example of a chair. If you are standing closer to this chair, it will appear larger, and if you are maintaining distance from the chair will appear smaller. So your changing position will shift the changing existence of chair. The reality of chair changes with the distance that you maintain from the chair. So if you try and make a portrait or paint this chair, you will not be able to capture the totality of reality about this chair. So the imitation can be deceptive, it can be illusionary. Whereas Aristotle considers imitation a very healthy activity and very essential, then Plato considers imitation twice removed from the reality. But Aristotle is of the view that imitation captures universal reality. It is not something that is involved in superficial existence. So that's all from my side. Thanks for listening. Thank you for staying till the end.